The wind howled through the metal graveyard. Rusted machines, broken droids, and old space cargo were scattered across the ground like forgotten memories. It was evening on Colony 12, a remote human outpost built over a dry, cracked planet. Jace. Rowan, a human engineer, wiped the sweat from his forehead as he worked on a repair bot. The bot kept making strange noises, and Jace was losing his patience. Sparks flew as he twisted a tool, but then he heard something. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't the machine. It was a sound. A cry. Faint, weak, like someone whispering through tears. Jace froze. He stood up, eyes scanning the junkyard. He waited. There it was again. A soft, broken sob. He picked up his flashlight and moved slowly. Through the maze of metal, his boots crunched over dry gravel. The sun was setting fast, and shadows stretched long between the piles of scrap. The sound grew louder. He moved a sheet of metal aside, then stepped back in shock. Beneath an old cargo net and broken satellite parts, there was a small metal cage. And inside that cage was a girl, not human. She was curled into a ball, arms wrapped around her knees. Her skin was pale silver with faint blue lines. Her eyes, wide and shining, looked up at him with pure fear. She had no clothes, just thin, dirty cloth wrapped around her chest. Her legs were bruised. Her face was hollow, as if she hadn't eaten in days. She blinked once, then whimpered again. Jace's heart dropped. "Hey," he whispered, kneeling beside the cage. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." The alien girl shook her head. Slowly, her lips moved, but no sound came. Just more tears. Jace checked the cage. It was locked with a high-tech alien code. Strange symbols blinked red. He didn't recognize them. "Who did this to you?" he asked softly, but she didn't answer. He looked around the area. No one, not even cameras. Who would leave a living person locked in a cage here? Jace made a choice. "I'm getting you out," he said. He ran back to his repair table and grabbed his tool bag. Using his torch cutter and some old circuits, he worked on the lock. The girl flinched at the sound of sparks, but didn't move. She just watched him with tired eyes. Minutes passed. Then clicked out. The cage door creaked open. Jace didn't move. He didn't want to scare her. "You're free," he said gently. She didn't move either. Jace pulled off his jacket and held it out. "Here, please, take it." The girl slowly reached out, trembling, and took the jacket. She wrapped herself in it like it was the only warmth left in the galaxy. "Can you walk?" Jace asked. She nodded. Barely. He helped her out of the cage. Her feet were bare and weak. She stumbled, and Jace caught her before she fell. "I've got you," he whispered. They moved quietly back to his workshop cabin, a small metal shack at the edge of the junkyard. Once inside, he sat her gently on a soft chair and handed her water. She sniffed it first, then drank quickly. "Slow down," Jace said. "You're safe now." The alien girl looked at him for a long time. Then she said one word in a soft, broken voice. "Please." It broke his heart. He brought her food, basic rations. She ate like she hadn't tasted anything in days. Jace watched her silently. She was young, maybe his age or a little younger. Thin, scared, but still alive. But who was she? Why was she locked in a cage? And who had left her here to die? As she finished eating, she looked around the room. Her eyes stopped at the corner mirror, where she saw herself dirty, bruised, wrapped in a man's jacket. She looked away in shame. Jace noticed something on her neck. A small symbol, almost like a tattoo, glowing faintly blue. He narrowed his eyes. He had seen that symbol before. Somewhere dark, somewhere illegal. His hand clenched. "You're not just lost, are you?" he said quietly. She didn't reply. "Just look down." The room was silent until a loud bang echoed. Outside, Jace jumped. Footsteps. Heavy ones. His breath caught. Someone was out there. *. The footsteps stopped right outside his door. Jace's heart pounded. He reached for the wrench. Lying on his desk. Not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. The alien girl, still wrapped in his jacket, sat frozen, eyes wide with panic. Bang! Bang! Someone knocked. Not gentle, not friendly. Open up! A deep voice shouted. We're doing a scan of the area. Colony orders. Jace cursed under his breath. He had seen those uniforms before. Private enforcers, not real law. Slaver-connected, hired muscle. I'm just a repairman. Jace shouted back, trying to sound casual. No trouble here. Open the door, the voice said again. The girl whimpered. Her eyes met Jace's, begging. Jace moved fast. Hide, he whispered. He opened the floor panel behind the generator. Get in, and stay silent. She didn't move. Please trust me. Her eyes locked with his for a second, then she nodded. She slipped inside the hidden space, shaking. Jace closed the panel just as the door slid open. Two large men stepped in, both armed. Their faces were cold. One looked around. You live alone? Jace nodded. Yeah, me, a few tools and broken bots. Want to buy one? They didn't laugh. The taller one walked to the back. The other looked at the food tray still warm on the table. You eat a lot for one guy. Been a long day, Jace said, forcing a grin. Junk never fixes itself. The second man narrowed his eyes. He moved closer to the mirror and picked up a long silver strand of hair. Not human. Jace's stomach dropped. I fix alien machines too, Jace said quickly. Could be from a cable. The man grunted but didn't seem convinced. Call us if you see anything strange. We're looking for stolen property. Yeah, sure, Jace said. They left without another word. Jace stood frozen for 10 seconds. Then he locked the door and rushed to the panel. He opened it. The girl was there, silent, small, scared. But alive. It's okay, he whispered. They're gone. She looked up at him, then crawled out. Her knees were scraped from the metal. Here. He picked up a cloth and gently wiped the dust off her face. She flinched. I won't hurt you, he said softly. Don't be afraid. Her lips trembled. Then slowly she whispered. They put me in a box, in the dark, for days. Number. Food, no air. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Jace, he sat beside her on the floor. You're not in a box anymore. You're safe. She looked at him like she didn't believe that was possible. I'm Jace, he said, placing a hand on his chest. Yessie. She hesitated, then pointed at herself. Leary. Leary. Jace repeated. That's a nice name. For a few moments, the room was quiet. Then Leary did something unexpected. She reached forward and lightly touched Jace's hand. Her fingers were cold, weak. You helped, she whispered. He smiled. Gently. Of course I did. But in his mind, Jace couldn't stop thinking about the glowing mark on her neck. He had seen it on bounty posters, slavers, human and alien alike. That symbol meant high-value prisoner, and that meant one thing. Whoever locked her up would come back for her. He looked at her again, so fragile, but still alive, and something inside him changed. He wasn't going to let her go. Back into a cage. Not ever. The night was quiet, too quiet. Jace sat alone outside his workshop, staring at the stars. The air was dry, the moons high above Colony. 12 glowing like pale eyes in the sky. But even under their light, something felt wrong. He lit a small camp lamp and opened a data pad. He wasn't reading. He was watching. 2 ships had landed hours ago near the edge of the colony, silent, unregistered and black as oil. No docking codes, no official scans. Just parked in the shadows. And one of them had a mark burned onto its hull. A spiral fang. Jace's blood turned cold. He had seen that mark in the illegal back channels of the junk traders. The Black Spiral Guild. Slavers. Mercenaries. Killers. They were here. Inside the workshop, Leary slept wrapped in a soft blanket. Her breathing was slow, calm, but her dreams were not. She whispered in her sleep, flinched from invisible hands. Jace knew it was only a matter of time before the people who had caged her came looking. And now they had. The next morning, the colony changed. A man named Drextal, with cybernetic eyes and a voice like gravel, walked the streets, flashing photos. He didn't smile, didn't blink. This girl? Seen her? He asked a food vendor. No, the vendor lied. But Drex could smell fear. By afternoon, he had a list. 5 people who acted nervous. 2 who stuttered when asked. 1 who said, "She's dead." Too quickly, Drex followed the trail. He came to the scrapyard last. Jace saw him walking through the piles of junk with slow, confident steps. 2 thugs followed behind, one with a scanner, the other holding a stun rod. Jace stepped outside and pretended to yawn. Looking for spare parts? He asked casually. Drex smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Looking for something rare, he said. Or rather, someone. Jace shrugged. You and half the traitors out here. Good luck. Drex held up a small hollow projector. It blinked and showed a floating image. Leary, locked in her cage, eyes filled with fear. Jace's stomach tightened, but he didn't blink. Haven't seen her, he said coolly. Drex tilted his head. Funny, you look like the kind of man who helps stray things. Jace smiled. Only if they beep or have wheels. Drex's eyes narrowed. Be careful, friend. This world is small, and I don't like lies. He walked off, but his men scanned the area behind him. That night, Jace knew the truth. They were closing in, inside. Leary sat quietly, her hands gripping the blanket tight. She had heard voices outside. They're here, aren't they? She whispered. Jse nodded. Her voice trembled. If they take me again, I won't survive. He looked at her. No one's taking you, he said. Not while I'm breathing. She looked up at him, and for the first time, her eyes held a spark of something new. Not fear. Hope. But that hope had to survive the night. And outside, Drex whispered into his comms, I found her. The door didn't creak. It exploded. Jace was thrown across the room as a flash grenade lit up the darkness. Sparks danced in the air. The small workshop, once warm and quiet, turned into chaos in one breath. Boots stomped in. Metal voices barked. Orders. Target is inside. Stun her if she runs. Leary screamed. She didn't scream like a child. She screamed like someone who had seen cages, wires, pain, and refused to go back. Jace struggled to his feet. His ears rang. His vision blurred. He saw 3 shadows inside already, one with a gun aimed, one grabbing the blanket, and one standing over Leary. No! He yelled, but no one listened. Then something happened. Leary's body arched, her eyes glowing bright violet. The symbol on her neck shimmered and vanished. Her fingers flexed and the air around her changed. The thug grabbed her arm. He shouldn't have. Leary moved so fast, Jace couldn't follow. She twisted the man's wrist, threw him over her shoulder, and kicked his weapon across the room. Another guard tried to grab her. He flew back like he'd been hit by a truck. Jace stared. Shocked. She was fighting. Not weak, not helpless, not scared. She moved like a soldier. Like someone trained. Or created. The last thug raised a stun rod, shouting, she's activated, take her down. But Leary spun and punched him in the chest. His armor cracked, and he flew into the wall. Jace blinked. What the hell? Leary stood in the middle of the broken room, chest heaving, hair wild, her eyes glowing like fire. Then she dropped to her knees. Her breath became shallow. Her arms trembled. Blood dripped from her nose. Jace rushed to her side. Leary, she looked at him. I used too much. My head hurts. He held her tightly as alarms blared outside. More of them were coming. You fought them off. He whispered. She gave a weak smile. I didn't want to be in a cage again. Jace carried her to the back, laying her gently on the soft cushions. He grabbed the medkit, cleaned the blood, and placed a cool cloth on her forehead. As she rested, Jace sat beside her, stunned. She wasn't just a slave, she was something more. A weapon? A soldier? A survivor? But one thing was clear: Leary had just declared war, and the slavers would not stop now. The air smelled like oil, sweat, and lies. Jace walked through the undermarket, a place built beneath Colony 12, where laws didn't exist, only deals. Rusted pipes dripped from the ceilings. Neon lights flickered above stalls, selling alien tech, black market food, weapons. And worse, he kept his hood low. Beside him, Leary walked silently, her eyes scanning every shadow. She now wore old worker's clothes, patched and plain. But even covered, she still looked out of place. Too clean. Too bright. Too valuable. "Keep your head down," Jace whispered. "We're here for one thing, someone to remove your mark." She nodded but didn't speak. Her steps were slow, her body still weak after the fight. She had risked her life to escape, and now they were walking into the most dangerous part of the colony. They passed beggars, smugglers, and beings with sharp smiles. One man hissed, "Got anything fresh, human? Something exotic?" Jace didn't stop. He tightened his grip on Leary's hand and moved faster. Finally, they reached a stall made of scrap metal and blue glass. A woman stood behind it, half human, half machine. Her eyes glowed red. "You look like a man who needs something erased," she said, smiling coldly. Jace showed her a scan of Leary's neck mark. The woman frowned. "That's guild branding. Not easy, not cheap. How much?" Jace asked. 5,000, or a trade." Jace's heart dropped. "I don't have that." "Then maybe I take the girl and sell her back," the woman said, reaching for her combs. Before Jace could react, Leary stepped forward. Her voice was soft but sharp. "Touch me, and I'll break your metal jaw." The woman paused. Her eyes scanned Leary again, this time more carefully. "You're not just some pet," she whispered. "No," Leary replied. "I'm the mistake your bosses are afraid of." That changed everything. The woman lowered her cum and said, "Come with me." She led them behind the stall into a private chamber, filled with old tech and glowing tools. She turned to Jace. "I'll wipe the mark, not for money, but because if she's what I think she is, the guild will burn cities to get her back." As the machine buzzed and lights flashed, Leary sat quietly. Jace held her hand. The mark burned, then vanished. It was gone, but outside, in the smoke and metal of the undermarket, someone had seen them. A man with a silver scanner and a long coat. He didn't speak. He simply pressed a button on his wrist, and across the colony, Drex's cum lit up. "Target confirmed." The stars above Colony 12 blinked softly, as if watching the secret unfold. Jace sat on the roof of his workshop, staring at the distant lights, thinking about everything that had happened. A girl in a cage, a mark on her neck, a fight that should have killed her, and the glow in her eyes that still haunted him. Behind him, the metal hatch creaked open. Leary stepped out, wrapped in a new blanket. She looked stronger now, but her eyes still carried the weight of 1,000 silent screams. "Can't sleep?" Jace asked. She sat beside him. "I don't dream, I remember." He didn't speak. He waited. For the first time, she spoke without fear. "My name is Leary of House Virel, daughter of High Warden Escher. I was born on the crystal moons of Narevia." Jace turned slowly to face her. "I thought your planet was destroyed," he said. "It was," she whispered, "because of me." She stared at the sky, her voice calm, like telling someone else's story. "I was meant to be a leader one day, a future queen. But they didn't want a queen, they wanted a weapon. My body was trained. My mind was tested. They put machines in my blood. They made me faster, stronger, but also colder. She looked at her hands. Until I broke. Until I ran. Jace's chest tightened. And the slavers? They were sent by those who wanted me silenced. I'm not just a runaway. She turned to him. I'm a secret that could start a war. Silence. Then Jace said, You're also someone who is locked in a cage. That's what I care about. She looked at him, her silver eyes softening. He reached out, gently touching her hand. You're not alone anymore. But before she could reply, an explosion rocked the ground. Jace stood up fast. Smoke rose from the eastern hill. The sky filled with red warning lights. They found us, he said. Leary looked down. Then I fight. No, Jace said. We fight. Below, in the dark, Drex and a team of hunters marched forward, scanners active, weapons drawn. And in his hand, Drex held a hologram of Leary. Target. Found. Status. Eliminate or return. Asterisk. The storm began with silence. No thunder. No wind. Just red lights flashing on the colony tower, and the sound of boots marching closer. Leary stood in front of the mirror inside Jace's workshop. Her hands shook slightly as she tied a belt around her waist. Not for fashion, but to hold. The small plasma blade Jace had given her. In the reflection, she didn't see a slave anymore. She saw someone ready. Jace entered the room, wiping grease off his hands. If we run now, we might still. No, Leary said, turning toward him. They'll never stop. Not until I'm dead, or worse. In chains again. Jace looked into her eyes. Then we don't run. He opened a locked case. Inside was a weapon he never planned to use again, an old human battle rifle from Earth's last war. He strapped it to his back. We fight. Together. Outside, the sky glowed orange as Drex and his hunters surrounded the scrapyard. Loudspeakers crackled. Give up the girl, human. Walk out, and we let you live. Jace laughed dryly. They always say that. Leary moved beside him, her voice steady. They don't understand. I'm not a prisoner anymore. No, Jace said. You're the storm they should fear. Then chaos. Blasters lit up the sky. Jace ducked behind a wall, firing carefully, protecting the path to the building. Leary moved like wind, quiet. Fast, precise. Her blade flashed, cutting down the first wave. Every time she hit the ground, she rose faster, stronger, remembering her training, but now, choosing how to use it. Drex stepped into the fight, his armor gleaming. Come back, Leary, you belong to us. She stared at him with fire in her voice. I belong to no one. They clashed. Drex was powerful, enhanced with metal arms and stun tech. But Leary was faster. And free. She dodged his blows, cut his weapon in half, and slammed him into the dirt. Blood trickled from her lip. This is my last cage. With one final strike, Drex collapsed. Silence. Jace ran to her. Are you okay? She nodded, breathless. We're okay. All around them, the rest of the hunters scattered. No one dared challenge her again. The stars above the colony seemed to shine brighter now. Later, as dawn touched the sky, Leary stood beside Jace on the same rooftop where the truth began. You're still here, she said quietly. He smiled. Told you, as long as I'm breathing. She looked at him, not as a stranger, not as a savior, but as home.